Thank you so much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Beginning in the name of the Lord, the most merciful. This is Arif Malik, Executive Director, World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, and I welcome you to tonight's exclusive dinner hosted by World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis in the honor of General Zubair Mahmood Hayat, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee from Pakistan. We are honored and we're delighted that our Honorable Chief Justice among us. Thank you so much. We would be very brief with the words tonight and then love to discuss, eat and celebrate. I'll be very briefly mentioning World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, which was born 4 years back. We have the honor to have our founder, board members with us tonight, 4 of them. In their presence, this organization was born with the vision to make a difference in the lives of the 7th largest diaspora in the world. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are 10 million people in 144 countries. And United Kingdom is the largest destination for the settled Pakistanis outside Pakistan. So, a big round of applause to all those overseas Pakistanis who are present in this evening, who are successful, who are MPs, who are lords, who are excellencies, who are successful, who are role models in the United Kingdom. World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis was initiated with a vision to build bridges between all those countries where the diaspora exists. And United Kingdom became its first stopover. In the last 4 years, we made a difference in lots of different spheres. In education sector, in integration and building bridges, in our endeavors to reach out to the marginalized people, we have had the honor to have the backing of the Prime Minister David Cameron, the Prime Minister Theresa May. Both of them attended our events. From Pakistan, the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and not only the politicians, but also the entrepreneurs, the technocrats, and the civil servants, and then now the men in uniform. 3 months back, World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis organized a groundbreaking event in the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, the first ever event of its type, which with a vision to open the doors of the Royal Armed Forces for the British Pakistanis. More to be discussed and more to be celebrated. But yes, we have an incredible journey, and tonight is going to be another milestone. So to formally open tonight's event, I'll be inviting Dr. Sohail Sukfai, President World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, to recite the few verses of Holy Quran and share some information about World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis. And your big round of applause.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, celebrates the 70th anniversary of Pakistan Independence Day. And this year also marks the significance of the relationship between the two big armies of the world. Their relationship has matured. We teamed up with the Royal Academy of Sandhurst a few months back, and we had a major significant event where the participation was reflective of the importance these two nations place on such a strategic relationship. We have significant presence today, and it's amazing to see that the social integration policy, the scheme World Congress of Overseas Pakistan is adopted, is working. There are about 25 nationalities sitting here today, and this is the property of our programs in the past as well, that we believe that the social exclusions have to be diluted. We must make sure that the social disintegration is discouraged. If we can't do much, we can at least do events where we get people together, make bridges, and this is one like this. This has been reciprocated by the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister. When she was Home Minister, she came to our program and honored that. We had the Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, Right Honorable, he was there at our programs, and we have personalities from social sector, political sector, sports, science. They're coming and joining us. It's an amazing sight. It's very encouraging. And today we celebrate this. We celebrate a very special occasion where one of our brilliant gentlemen, he's been training here, and I'll leave the rest to the rest of the speakers to talk about him, Major Uqba Malik. But I really welcome you here today, and I want to finish this comment with the thing that let's enjoy this evening and let's make the best of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, this is the time to invite our chairman to welcome you formally and introduce you to what this event, this particular evening holds for you. In your big round of applause, we will invite Chairman Sayyid Kamar Raza, World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, current chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, officers, lords and baronesses, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. It's my privilege to welcome you all on behalf of the Board of Governors and members of World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis to honor the armed forces of United Kingdom and Pakistan. We stand here to remember the brave soldiers, sailors, and airmen of both the countries for their courage and sacrifice. It has been said that to be a soldier one needs that special genes, that extra something that enable a person to jump into a combat. Something, after all, that is unimaginable to most of us who have not worn the uniform. So I stand before you to thank you for your valiant efforts for the love of your countries. We remember those great soldiers of Britain and Pakistan who fought in both great wars in the battlefields of Europe, Africa, and Asia, and many of them never returned. Today, we British Pakistani host this auspicious occasion as an expression of our commitment and allegiance to both the countries who have been a deep-rooted relationship for over 70 years. My commitment to this cause increased manifold when I witnessed the former Prime Minister David Cameron saying that friends of Pakistan are our friends and Pakistan enemies are our enemies. The relationship between Pakistan and UK has withstood the test of time, and the world's 7th largest diaspora will make sure this relationship is further strengthened by our presence in the Royal Armed Forces. Our diaspora is bedrock on which diplomatic, military, academic, and economic relationships are based. We, the British Pakistanis, have to come a long way and are contributing in all spheres to shape opinions. We are blessed to have with us from England, Scotland, and Wales councillors, mayors, parliamentarians, entrepreneurs, media persons, professionals, and most of all, we have Sandhurst Khan, who is the mayor of world-leading city, which is shining example of brotherhood that exists between us. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply indebted to General Zubair Mahmood Hayat, Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, for his kindness that he gave presence to this occasion. His presence at this forum is testament of the importance which Pakistan gives to our efforts to bring both the countries closer. In the same breath, our special gratitude to British Armed Forces for their unequivocal support and affection for the cause of bringing British Pakistanis in the folds of Royal Armed Forces. Excellencies, this event builds on the historic first ever open day organized 3 months ago for the British Pakistanis at the Royal Military Academy with the great help of Major Uqba Malik. Very kindly attended by Commander British Field Army, Lieutenant General Patrick Nicholas Sandhurst, along with Commandant of the Royal Military Academy, General Paul Nansen, and Major General Muhammad Amir from Pakistan Army. Today, we move even further in our expression of commitment to support our men and women in uniform. We also honor Major Uqba Malik for being the first ever Pakistani instructor in Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. And we are sure that the legacy of excellence will continue. Long live United Kingdom, Pakistan, Zindabad.
Now this event is extraordinary for one main reason. This is an event where diaspora is hosting the top soldiers from both the countries. The British Pakistani diaspora hosting the men in uniform from Pakistan and the United Kingdom. So it is extremely relevant that those people who are the leaders of diaspora, who made history in many ways, those who emigrated here, but then they stood out, those extraordinary souls who became the role models for diaspora. We have the privilege of several of them being here. We have the mayors, we have the Lord Mayors, we have the members of Parliament, and we have members from the House of Lords. I'll be inviting two of these incredible people, one by one, for their brief comment, how they see World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, how it is making difference in the lives of diaspora. So the first speaker is Lord Nazir Ahmed, our favorite, and the first one from the clouds who broke through the ceiling. Give a big round of applause.
My lords, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mayors, councillors, members of parliament, members of European Parliament, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening, assalamu alaikum. General Zubair Hayat sahab, you are most welcome back in London after so many years. It's lovely to see you. And I think Qamar Raza Sayyid was right to mention the contribution that Muslims made in the Second World War, and many of them, hundreds of thousands of those, were Muslims from Pakistan. And I'm sure soldiers from your family, because I know that three brothers, three of you are serving generals, and your father was also a general, serving general in Pakistan Army too. So this is also a great country, and for me, both great countries, Pakistan, of course, my origin, and United Kingdom. There is no other country in the world where you can imagine that, because we are talking about overseas Pakistanis, where you can imagine a working class boy comes here, goes to local school in a working class background, and then is elevated to the House of Lords 20 years ago, and thank you to United Kingdom for doing that. And if there are other peers, please take note, I only criticize everybody in the House of Lords, not here tonight. So, General Saab, one of the great things about this country is that people have made a contribution. I always remind my English friends, after the Blitz, when Britain had suffered huge losses, nevertheless won the Second World War, they needed people to come from the Commonwealth countries to come and work here, work hard, without a limit to hours, without minimum wage, without any health and safety. And Alhamdulillah, I can say that Pakistanis and Kashmiris, along with other Commonwealth countries, they were some of the great people who worked in steel factories, in textile mills, and made this country the third richest country a few years ago. Of course, we are the fifth richest country in the world even today, and we've been part of it. And so today we have mayors, we have Lord Mayors, we have councillors, magistrates, people serving in all sections of British society. And Alhamdulillah, outside Pakistan, I always say this, that we, the British Pakistanis, British Kashmiris, people with Pakistani heritage, we have succeeded politically more in the United Kingdom than anywhere else in the world. And that's because Britain has also been good to us too, and given us that space. So if I just can say that on behalf of overseas Pakistanis, and Qamar Raza Sayyid and his team didn't ask me to do this, but I think we should all show our appreciation to the Pakistan Army, who have contributed so much in terms of war on terror, the front line state, but more importantly, the lives that Pakistani soldiers have given, more than the Americans, NATO, and ISAF put together. So a massive round of applause for Pakistan Army and the
From ceiling fan, yes, we have another one who broke the ceiling, in fact, another pathbreaker, another pioneer. We have the privilege of having him around. He was the first ever Muslim member of the European Parliament and first ever Pakistani Muslim member of European Parliament. He actually represented the United Kingdom at the EU and also played a pivotal role in securing GST plus for Pakistan. That was a huge favor and an incredible feat. And he also had the honor to be actually representative. He became the representative of Conservative in the European Parliament. And we have the honor that he was the founder, chairman of World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, and he is our current patron-in-chief. So let me invite, in your big round of applause, Dr. Sajjad Hazar Kareem, member of the European Parliament.
Actually, after that far too kind an introduction, I'm looking forward to hearing what I've got to say. But I promise you I shall not take too long. It's always a very unique point of personal pleasure for me when I speak from the platform of the World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, but I'll touch on that just in a few moments. The purpose of today is, of course, to quite rightly honour the very brave men and women of the armed forces of Pakistan and the United Kingdom, and indeed remember the very great sacrifices that so many of them have made so that we can live the lives that we live. General Zubair Khayyat, it really is a pleasure to welcome you here, a real honour this evening. On the battlefields of Belgium in 1914, there came a point at which the enemy had advanced so far, and our positions were really compromised, and the challenge seemed insurmountable at that moment in time. Fighting under the British flag, our soldiers found themselves in a situation where they came under attack. There was one soldier who stood there and, despite being shot twice, manned his gun so steadfastly, despite losing his colleagues, and he held the enemy at bay just long enough for British reinforcements to arrive. Quite rightly, he was awarded with the Victoria Cross. That soldier that day fighting under the British flag was Khudadad Khan from the Punjab, Mandi Bahudin in today's Pakistan. I am immensely proud of the contribution that he made. And as a British Pakistani, I do believe that having an event of this sort without properly recalling his and others' contributions would be remiss of us, and that is why I wanted to put forward that account today. Now, turning very briefly to the World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis. It does many things, but above all, we have one purpose in mind. We must provide whatever bridging we can between two countries that are so inextricably linked, not just by their past and their present, but also by their future as well. And it is not just about the bilateral relations between the United Kingdom and Pakistan. I can tell you, from being and serving the United Kingdom in the European Parliament, now for some 14 years, the United Kingdom voluntarily has always been the best friend of Pakistan in that multilateral forum. And it is essential that in the challenging times that we are currently facing and the changing world order as it is unfolding in front of us today, that we make sure that our old, time-tested friendships, relationships are strengthened even further. And that is why, under the leadership of Syed Qamar Raza and the fellow team that work alongside him, voluntarily and tirelessly, it is essential that they are provided with support from people like myself, Lord Nazir, Lord Qurban Hussain, who is here, so many of our other politicians, councillors, mayors, people representative of political parties and a variety of structures, that we give them all of the support they require to carry on this absolutely vital work. You'll be pleased to know that I have no jokes to share with you. Well, I do, but not maybe for such an open setting. So if you want to hear a joke, then possibly tap me up afterwards and we'll have a private chat at that stage. May I thank you all and just finish simply once again by thanking General Zubair for being here and being present with us this evening. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Now this is the time to hear from the other side. And when we say the other side, is actually the same side. We are actually on the same side. So we have the privilege of having several distinguished British officers with us, senior officers, and we requested Major General Charles Vivian to come to the stage and respond to all this passion, enthusiasm, and justice. So the big round of applause, Major General Charles Vivian.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be here tonight because my life has always been about families. And I regard Pakistan in general as very much my family, and the Pakistan Army most particularly. Perhaps more than many of you may realize. In the British Army, we have to have a medical every 5 years for senior officers. And I had one in 1990. And when I went back to see the doctor the following week, he said, "Did you know, Brigadier," at the time I was commanding a brigade in Ireland, "you have a very rare blood group?" I said, "No, I wasn't aware of that." He said, "It's B rhesus negative, and it's shared by 0.3% of the British population." I said, "Really? I'm just going to Pakistan to the NDC for a year. Are there any precautions I should take?" He said, "No, 80% of them have the same blood group." So, I think I share more than just my military affiliations. But I mention the question of the families because I think one of the great legacies, I would like to think one of the great legacies which the British Army left with the Pakistan Army is the regimental system. And my regiment, the Royal Green Jackets, has been very closely associated and is still associated with the Guides. And that goes back to 1857, which some people might call the First War of Independence. And when my regiment and what became the 2nd Gurkhas were at the Kashmir Gate in 1857, the Guides came along and they were instrumental in breaching the defences of the city. And subsequently, the dining room table of the owner of the house, Hindu Khan, I think it was Hindu, I forget now, was cut into 3 pieces. It had been used as the surgeon's table and was cut into 3 pieces. A third went to the Gurkha regiment, now the 2nd Gurkhas. A third went to the Green Jackets, and a third went to the Guides. And if any of you here visit the Rasala regiment of the Guides at the moment, you will see a third of that table hanging on the wall as a regimental memento. And that was over 150 years ago, and it is still there. And the Green Jacket one is in our museum in Winchester, and the Gurkha one is in Pokhara in Nepal. And that is I think, the basis of the relationship which we have in our army and which we share with you in your army. And I think having Major Malik here at Sandhurst integrated within our command and teaching educational system is, I think, a recognition of the way in which the Pakistan Army and the British Army have been so closely related, and I hope will remain closely related. So thank you very much to the board of the WCOOP for inviting us all here this evening, and particularly your tributes not only to the Pakistan Army, but also very generously to the British Army. I thank you, and I hope you have a very nice evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we are actually close to the keynote, and we have our most distinguished chief guest from Pakistan, and as briefly introduced, someone who has been serving like in the 2nd and 3rd generations to his great country. So we have the privilege of having the Chief of Defense from Pakistan, General Zubair Mahmood Hayat, who is Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, and who is representing the glorious tradition of his family and his country. And he's going to have this extraordinary opportunity to speak to the diaspora and the British and Pakistani officers present here with a message from Pakistan. To actually present him a warm welcome and honor our extraordinary guest here, I would request all of us to present him a standing ovation if we can do that. And in a big round of applause, I've been inviting General Zubair Mahmood Hayat, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, to the stage.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm evening. Let me tell you, there's nothing official about today's speech. I make them more often than not. At this moment, I was in transit, having attended a Chief of Defence Staff's conference in Canada of the Indo-Asia Pacific Chief of Defence Staffs, where 25 different countries were represented. And on my way back, I was just taking a few hours of transit here in London, and the last thing that I wanted to do was to deliver a speech. But the warmth with which I was invited by the World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis to come and say a few words was something that I could not refuse. And I'm very gracious to find the number of people who have actually turned up today for this event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Thank you. What struck me when I was at this Chief of Defence Staff's conference was how much has changed. How much has changed not in the last 42 years that I have been in the military, but how much has changed since 9/11, an event in which I was here in London at that day. Only 15 years ago, for a country like Pakistan, we had a military engagement with about 18 different countries. And we thought we were doing a good job. we were. Today, we have an active military engagement with 56 different countries. It is becoming difficult for the calendars managers to manage various exercises and training events for all the nations of the world which actually want to join hands with Pakistan and do training in various aspects, especially counter-terrorism. So whether it is ASEAN or whether it is South Asia, whether it is Central Asia or whether it is Middle East, there is a story of great cooperation and friendship between Pakistan and those countries. But none is more special than the one between the United Kingdom and Pakistan. Few of you would know that when Pakistan was created in 1947, it was Pakistan which decided that the British officers will stay put for a considerable period of time, whereas conversely on the Indian side, they had decided to repatriate the British officers. So as long as till 1956, that's about 9-10 years post-partition, we had a number of British officers who actually served alongside Pakistani officers, serving the Pakistani flag, wearing the Pakistani uniform. The first Commander-in-Chief, what we call now as the Chief of the Army Staff of the Pakistan Army, was a British officer. The regimental commanding officer, the regiment to which I joined, Colonel Gavricks, was a British officer. The hall to which every Pakistani officer goes through his training at the Pakistan Military Academy is actually named as the Ingle Hall, named after the British commandant called Brigadier Ingle. And I was so moved when somebody today spoke about the regimental system that exists, and that is so very true. For every old regiment of the Pakistan Army, if you go to their messes, if you go to their regiments, you will find photographs of only two nationalities. Obviously, Pakistanis, and second are British. So it is a very deep-rooted relationship. And I, as Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff Committee, would wish to thank the British Army for supporting Pakistan military in many ways over the years, even today, and I look forward to continuing that relationship for tomorrow also. Obviously, this year marks the 70 years of the creation of Pakistan, and obviously the relationship between our two militaries. But in every field, the relationship has grown, but none so more than in blood. For in many conflicts of the globe, we have worked together where both sides have lost blood. And I, as a soldier who wears a uniform, deeply cherish that kind of a comradeship. So thank you, British Army, for that. As I said, I don't have a written script, but what I would like to say is a few words about where Pakistan is today after these 70 years. We have just conducted and concluded our census, meaning thereby we have counted ourselves, an exercise that we have done after 20 years. Two things. In order to be able to conduct census, there were 200,000 active duty military soldiers who participated along with the civilian institutions to conduct this exercise. I have in my reckoning tried to work out if there is any parallel in the world where there has been such a massive involvement in a nation building role of a military, and at least I for one couldn't find a parallel. Now the results of those census, they are coming into play, and more as we go along, I think more data will come into play. But what is sure is that the population of Pakistan today stands close to 220 million people. This makes Pakistan the 5th most populous country in the world. And this population has grown. And I want to make a point that when I joined the army 42 years ago, Pakistan was a country of 80 million people. I still wear the uniform and haven't retired as yet. We are 220 and still counting. Now, this brings with it great opportunities. It also brings with it great challenges. The Pakistan of today is not only the 5th most populous country in the world, its army is also the 7th largest army in the world. It's among the 9 nuclear powers that exist in the world. It has a GDP of more than 300 billion US dollars, and in the next 10 years, it is projected to be among the top 20 economies of the world. By 2050, according to US estimates of many think tanks, it is likely to be one of the top 10 economies of the world. Therefore, it is by no coincidence that in many aspects, even today, Pakistan stands amongst the top 10. Whether it's wheat, cotton, dates, dairy, livestock, Pakistan is amongst the top 10 producing nations, as I mentioned on those accounts, and many more. Also, in Pakistan are minerals in abundance. And many of you might have seen studies which put the minerals of Afghanistan in focus and rank them to around 8 trillion or 3 trillion US dollars. From the informed studies that I know, Pakistan minerals, without putting an upper cap on this, far exceeds the minerals that exist in our neighborhood. We are now one of the few countries of the world which has rare metals in abundance. And rare metals are the metals of the future, where technology will essentially require those metals to grow. And we have been blessed with an abundance of those metals. Pakistan today is a country where there are more students studying in school than at any time in history. At the time of partition in 1947, the total number of people who had been educated or had gone to the schooling system was less than 17%. Now try and make out 17% out of a total of population those days of West Pakistan, about 30 million. Today, while we have many challenges to still surmount in education, from that 17% of 30 million, today we have an education of 64% in 220 million. So when people tell me about how much the glass is half full, I always indicate to them how much the glass is, they indicate to me how much the glass is empty, and I indicate to them as to how much the glass is actually full. There are today more women students in Pakistan than at any time in the history. 52% of all college and university seats today are occupied by women. There are more women parliamentarians in Pakistan than any other Muslim countries and many of the Western countries Pakistan obviously was the first Muslim country which elected a woman prime minister, not once, but twice through a popular vote. Now, many of these things that I tell you today are facts, but facts that are lost in the narrative that exists in the common domain. But we stand confident as a nation. Today, the buzzword in Pakistan is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Something like $60 billion of investment is already on the table. Another $140 billion of investment is in the pipeline. That would make an investment of $200 billion. Quite unprecedented in modern history. And at that, it's not only a corridor of trade, which it will be, of commerce, which it will be, of finance, which it will be, but there will be fiber optics and gas pipelines and oil pipelines. So this connectivity that Pakistan will provide will open up the masses of Central Asia and hopefully Eurasia and China. Prospects unprecedented in history. We are also very pleased to be now a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, because we believe that being members of such organizations opens up greater strategic possibilities for Pakistan. Not as having taken sides, for you would know better than me that on the same day that Pakistan joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India also was simultaneously inducted in the same organization. If you happen to go to the city of Gwadar, you will be pleased to see the development work that is undergoing at that place. The property prices in Gwadar in the last 2 years have risen by 367%. In fact, government probably might have to cap some of these prices before they become too high. So in Pakistan, there is this great buoyancy. And this buoyancy is despite the challenge of the last 16 years. In this effort, which has been a national effort, the Pakistan Army, combined with its institution, but more importantly supported by its people, have turned the tide against terrorism inside Pakistan. Let me give you a fact. The largest single counter-terrorism effort by any military in the world, by far, has been put in by the Pakistan Army. 200,000 active duty soldiers, I repeat. Just to give you scales, the British Army at this moment is about 86,000 if I am not wrong. 200,000 active military soldiers have been employed in counter-terrorism, counterinsurgency role to roll back and turn this tide successfully. In order to do this, of this magnitude, you see, when there are 43 other nations trying to stabilize Afghanistan on the other side, the amount of money that has been spent in Afghanistan trying to stabilize Afghanistan has crossed $1.5 trillion. The yearly budget of the Afghan army which is far smaller than Pakistan Army, in trying to control their country through an internal issue only, exceeds $8 billion US. Now, what has it resulted in? Two things. A, cost. The nation has paid an immense cost. And I'm very thankful to the gentleman who made remarks about acknowledging the sacrifices of the nation as a whole. Over 80,000 Pakistanis lost their lives since 9/11. Spare a thought for that. 80,000. Over 6,000 Pakistani soldiers laid down their lives. Over 22,000 Pakistani soldiers were injured. If you put the injured and the shaheeds together, it makes 30,000 Pakistani military casualties. By any stretch of imagination, this is a colossal effort on part of an army which made a determination that it will not let go, that it will reverse the tide, and that it will control on its side of the border. And we have done it. I'm really not saying that it is an end state, for this is no classic military victory where a bugle can be blown and a flag can be put up. It is but a condition that we have created. And all that we have requested our friends, colleagues, and partner nations is acknowledgement. All that is what we want. Trust. That is all that we want. And if you want to help us, you're most welcome. But help us the way we want you to help us. For the 40 years of war that has ravaged in Afghanistan has brought great destruction inside Pakistan. The fact is, the problem lies inside Afghanistan between two opposing forces. And therefore the solution lies inside Afghanistan. You cannot escape a country, an individual, or institutions for failures that are collective. And therefore, once there is no military solution, Pakistan will try, has tried, and will try its best to try and partner all forces towards reconciliation of varying factions so that there is peace and stability inside Afghanistan. A peaceful Afghanistan, a stable Afghanistan is in the best interest of Pakistan. But you cannot have a peaceful Afghanistan if you implant foreign powers which are non-contiguous to Afghanistan, or try and apply a level of force which actually is counter to the requirements of reconciliation. So Pakistan stands committed to trying to stabilize Afghanistan, but we will play our role. We have cleared our area. We are in the process of building 900 posts along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. We are in the process of building a fence, sort of a wall. Some of the other globally it has become fashionable to construct walls between Afghanistan and Pakistan. We are constructing gates. We have already constructed one at Torkham, and there are others which are going to come up, where there will be now an interstate movement based upon documents. You will have to prove your identity as to who you are before you cross either way. Now these steps are taken by the nations which want that no bad crossing takes places, and we would like others to partner with us on these accounts. I would also like to say a word about Kashmir. Kashmir is bleeding, and bleeding very badly. The repression inside Kashmir has been unbearable. The amount of force that has been used, if it had been used in some other part of the world, you would have seen headlines upon headlines and editorials upon editorials. I've always told people, please treat Kashmir with justice, with passion. They have human rights. They are people of no lesser God. If you use pellet guns, I think we have created a record of using pellet guns against civilians. We have injured 9,000 youths who have pellet injuries in their eyes. Which era of humanity are we living in? The number of people that have been killed has crossed 124 last year. It's touching 100 this year and still counting. And in order to divert attention from the mainland valley, the line of control has been activated. We had more cross-border fire in 2016 and 17 than we had in last 15 years put together. And this cross-border fire has been meant to divert attention and cause pain. And pain to whom? Pain to ordinary Pakistanis. 84 civilian Pakistanis have been martyred, killed by Indian fire only in last 18 months. Once a normal bus, a civilian bus was going, it was fired upon, and we lost 9 civilians in that bus. We tried to recover those bodies by sending 2 ambulances. Which law of warfare will allow fire on ambulances which have gone to pick up dead bodies? This does not make news. It must, if Kashmir is to be resolved honorably and with dignity for the people that live there. For Kashmir is not a problem that can be wished away. It cannot be put under the carpet. It is the core issue, and it requires a sustained, meaningful, and result-oriented dialogue to be able to achieve a lasting peace in the region and beyond. That's not to say that we don't have challenges or problems in our part of the world. There are many, and I can count them by my hand. But I ask myself and I ask others, which country in the world does not face these challenges? When I look around, what's going on in the Middle East, in Central Asia Republic, look what's going on in Burma at this moment and beyond. But I have one great confidence, and that confidence is that for Pakistani challenges, we will inshallah find a Pakistani answer. And in order to find that answer, we have the human capital. And at a time when there is a global aging taking place in many parts of the world, there are few countries which now possess this capital, which will be of immense value in the next 50 years and so. And we stand amongst the top countries which possess that human capital. We obviously possess geography, and CPAC is only a reflective of just a part of what that geography can do. We are hopeful because I think sociology is on our part. The kind of resilience that this nation has exhibited, whether this was the earthquake of 2005, whether these are the floods called the biblical floods in 2010, or whether this is the last 15 years of war, and I told you of the damage that it has done, 80,000 Pakistanis. If you go to the streets today, and I encourage you to go back to Pakistan, of any city, you will find the atmosphere there of a nation which stands resolved and of resilience. I don't want to hold you from your dinner, because I'm also feeling hungry. But I do want to tell you that I've been very moved today by what has been put up by the World Council of Overseas Pakistanis. For this is what is not required only in Britain. I think this is required world over. We require bridges to be made. We require communication channels to be opened. We require to understand each other from the perspective of each other. We need to respect cultures. We need to respect beliefs. We need to respect the way of life of other people. And functions like this, community gatherings like this, and today, as somebody mentioned, there are 25 different nationalities that are gathered here. So it's a small example of what, unity of purpose can bring us together. Let me conclude by a saying of Rumi. He said that if you are thirsty and drink in a cup, you will see God. But if you only love yourself, you will only see your reflection. I thank you.
So while we have our chief guest on the stage along with the founding governors of World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, with a big round of applause, we'll be requesting Major Akbar Malik to come over the stage and receive them. Thank you, sir. And no speech after the keynote, but 3 words of delight from the delighted Akbar Malik.
Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I haven't prepared a speech. I don't have a speech, and yes, please, I don't have a speech. But I do have thank yous, and I'm going to keep it very short because I'm hungry as well. First of all, I think when I came here, what I want to say is the amount of love that I got in Sandhurst in UK was unbelievable. And then on the other side, the amount of love that I got from the Pakistani community through World Congress Overseas Pakistanis and everybody else was again unbelievable. And I think there was a very strong competition of actually what's going on here. So thank you to everyone who's come here and made this evening special. It means a lot to me. I think no young officer in any army can dream of the amount of prestige that I've gotten in these last 2 years. And because I think the most prestigious thing in your life as an officer is becoming an instructor, what we call platoon commander in Pakistan Military Academy. And when I became a platoon commander in Pakistan Military Academy, I thought, yes, this is my dream come true. And within 6 months, there was something beyond the dream, and that was becoming a platoon commander at an academy, which was my alma mater, where I graduated from 10 years ago, which was Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. And I thought it was, I think, my parents' prayers, and obviously fate, and I'm so indebted in gratitude, and I think I'm really blessed. And when I came here, what I want to thank you, 2 things I want to mention before I finish is, it's individuals, little people who make a team together and they make it special. And for me, who made it special are those 2 people, obviously my students and the people who were with me. And I would like to make a mention of my first color sergeant, who's now Warrant Officer Peachy Heath. He's here. He's come here to send me off. Thank you very much. He's looked after me. He was the color sergeant there. Thank you for coming. He's Welsh Guards. He's come all the way from Purbright. The second man, Mickey B, thank you very much for coming. He was my color staff sergeant after that, engineers, and he made it special for me. And then confining myself to Sandhurst, I'd like to thank my students who've come here. I know Mr. Halliday is here. Thank you, Mr. Halliday, Mr. Stevenson, Ms. Louise, Andy Watson, who was my platoon mate. He's here from Sandhurst. Alexander Parish and the parishes have come from Belgium all the way. So thank you very much to you. Before finishing, I would like to just mention that one thing I wouldn't and we don't forget as a community, as a Pakistani officer, and then in the last 2 years that I've been as a British officer. I also have the parents of a very close friend of mine who has sacrificed his life in Afghanistan in 2009, the Mervises, and they are here. And we don't forget the Pakistanis and the British. We don't forget the sacrifices that Britain has given in their war on terror, which is our war as well, and the friends that I've lost in the Pakistani army, which I'll never forget. So the feeling for what Britain has lost in this war is as good as what we've lost in Pakistan. So thank you very much for coming and making this day special for me, Mervises. And thank you very much everybody else for coming, my family, cousins, friends, World Congress of Overseas Pakistani. General Zubair, thank you very much for coming today, making this night special. Thank you very much.
Very pleased to be participating in this function today, organised by the World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis, and in particular wanting to recognise a very real contribution that has been made by the voluntary efforts of the team of the World Congress of Overseas Pakistanis. Syed Qamar Raza, Dr. Sahel Chugtai and their entire team have really done a wonderful bridging exercise to recognise the contribution and the relationship between the militaries and armed forces of Pakistan and the United Kingdom. This is an aspect of a very deep relationship between Pakistan and the United Kingdom, which needs to be celebrated in the way that it has today.
जनरल ज़ुबैर हयात साहब की जो तकरीर बड़ी कम्प्रिहेंसिव थी, क्योंकि दोनों ममालिक की जो सीनियर फ़ौजी यहाँ पे तशरीफ़ रखते हैं, जो पाकिस्तान की कंट्रीब्यूशन सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर से लेकर जब से पाकिस्तान एग्जिस्टेंस में आया 70 इयर्स, उसमें पाकिस्तान की सेक्रीफाइस थी. अगर आप देखें वॉर ऑन टेरर की फ्रंट लाइन स्टेट, और जो 70,000 से ज़्यादा लोगों ने अपनी जानें कुर्बान की, 6,000 से ज़्यादा शहीद हुए, 22,000 ज़ख्मी हुए जो पाकिस्तानी फ़ौजी. तो यहाँ पे जितनी भी तकरीरें थी वो दोनों ममालिक के दरमियान एक ब्रिज की हैसियत से जो कम्युनिटी जो कर रही है, लेकिन साथ साथ लोगों को अप्रिशिएट भी कर रहे थे.